Okay.
So, hey everyone, it's March 11th, a Rotary eClub meeting from District 5960 with Greg and Ogan, Chrisanne, and Kirk and myself attending. Today we have a recorded interview from Dr. Michael Lawrenson, who is an inbound student to Minneapolis, St. Paul from South Africa, who now lives in Denver. Chrisanne interviewed him. I was along for the ride earlier, so we'll play that interview. But just wanted to start the meeting today and go around the group and see if anyone has any happy news or news of any type that they'd like to share with the group.
You all might have heard that the University of Minnesota is closing effective Monday. We'll have only e-classes. I'm a language teacher, and I got an email this afternoon saying that they may close the American Swedish Institute for 2 weeks or longer in total, and that my classes might be e-classes also. They've not made a decision, but they are thinking about that. I was supposed to have left on Tuesday for Barcelona, and that trip got canceled. And I've been told that I should rethink my trip, Chrisanne, to Denver to a later date. Some people have told me that. Yeah. Nobody knows what's happening with this virus and where it's, what's going to be happening in June, what's going to be happening in April, what's going to happen in May. Nobody knows anything. And I sincerely think that people do not know. I mean, it's not that they're withholding information; they just don't know. But I think I'm still going to book my tickets for June and take my chances, and hopefully the virus will be under control by then or something.
Yeah, I'd like to think it's going to be out of our hair by then.
Yeah.
I had a big national dementia summit in Bethesda, Maryland next week. Researchers from all over the country, and they made the decision yesterday to hold it virtually only. So don't show up. You won't be let on campus. No in-person option available. So
I think we have to be severe like that. I just think we have to do whatever we can to cut the sharing.
Yeah.
It's interesting. There's a component of people that are actually enthusiastic about the fact that this will minimize several parts of your footprint and the travel and things like that, and all the washing of your hands will probably solve some of the flu problems, and you never know. This, I think, was classified, I saw on weather.com of all places, as a pandemic today by the Health Organization. So it is very concerning, but there's an abundance of caution is good. We're also seeing a lot of panic happening here in our little small town. There was an event over the weekend that had a lot of students and parents in a gymnasium for kind of a science fairish type thing. And one of the parents from another county tested positive, which you probably saw on the news. It was covered throughout the Twin Cities. And, of course, that just gets reported, and then all of those people were informed. And then, so the gal in the office next to me, she was at that event, so they told me, and, I'm not overly concerned about it, but, it does, you just realize how close,
How close, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
and you happen to be informed of that, but you could easily either not have been informed, or no one would have been aware, or right?
Yeah. As an EMS person, I go into a lot of situations that are more than gross, and so you just take your precautions. I have a lot of Germex bottles around.
Yeah, for sure.
Wash my hands a lot, and I'm more concerned about like my father, who's 81, who suffers from a lot of health issues, or my kids who are younger and don't realize that they're not supposed to put their hands in their mouth or touch their eyes, or whatever the rules are. So those are the people I'm more concerned about. I'm isolated in an office, and I don't have to talk to anybody if I don't want to. But Zoom certainly will make it very easy for people to stay in business if they can do that. If they're businesses allow them to. So
Yeah, I was just thinking, Greg, for you with your language instruction, something via Zoom or some other video technology. I mean, I think what these meetings have showed us is how connected you can feel to the group,
Right.
and how things can still continue, and how,
Right.
I personally was really looking forward to seeing everyone's faces today and hearing voices. And, it is a nice way to stay connected. So,
yeah.
They've already talked about Zoom as being the alternative for our classes. Yeah, I find it interesting that the University of Minnesota is closing, but the Minnesota State University system is not closing. So it'll be we debates back and forth.
Bet they will though.
Olga, how is
That's,
stuff? Yeah, I'd like to hear the Southwest perspective.
Yeah, and I have a partnership with the University of Minnesota. That's what my organization has. So creates some interesting challenges because we have our largest fundraiser coming up, and I'll come over and no idea. Tough to explain. But with this moral Minnesota Ag and Rural Leadership, with our organization, we just traveled with our current leadership cohort to Cambodia and Taiwan. Taiwan was one of the first countries to be hit by the coronavirus, and they have been really doing a great job at containing it and keeping the numbers very low. And so we witnessed how they do that. And there's not a lot of choices that you get by any means. You follow those rules, and that is face masks wherever you are, if there are many people with you, especially if it's not in the open air. So think of public transportation, airports and such. And then if you enter either a building with other visitors or a bus or whatever it is, there will be someone standing there spraying your hands with disinfectant.
Wow.
And then our temperatures were taken multiple times too.
No kidding. Wow.
Yep. And they had some national monuments that we visited, and they were built in to the entrance. So there was a sign up there that indicated that they took your temperature, and if it were too high, you wouldn't be allowed to enter the building. But it was interesting how they did this, and we all learned a few things. At first, it seems overly cautious, right? And it feels like it's not normal. And then the crew on the airplane with Taiwanese airline, they all wore their masks. And then when you enter the U.S., where no one's doing anything,
yeah, really,
even at the exit of your or deplaning, I should say, then thought, well, so that's interesting. And then the crew on our connecting flight in the U.S., they actually told me they did not feel very comfortable with this policy, but they were not allowed to wear a face mask and anything that is visible because it might throw your passengers off. And so that was an interesting approach. Yeah,
the U.S. is pretty individualistic, and I can just see a great many people saying, this is a hoax, and I'm not doing anything, and this isn't, Other countries have, I think, more unified policy and are able to say, here's what's going on. Italy, I just can't imagine that happening in the U.S. where this is countrywide.
It is, yeah. But, yeah. It is interesting. With leadership, we focus a lot on cultural intelligence and those pieces that can be different. So being individualistic and compared to group minded. And so, of course, we all believe that we are very much thinking about one another as well. But there are cultures where that is more prominent, and yeah, they enforce this differently. So, yeah. But it is concerning. So I hope that all will be well, and especially if Kirk, if your dad is older and has some health issues, that is a concern.
Yeah. Well, I know being in the hospital is not the place to stay well. Your chances of getting sick when you visit a hospital are good. So he's been in and out of the hospital quite a bit with different illnesses, and every time I hear that he has to go in for something, even just for a test or something, I'm always concerned he's going to come back with the flu or something. But yeah, it's not a fun thing getting older. He always tells me that.
I was going to say something about our Chinese clients. They have been working out of their homes until this week. So they are now comfortable getting back to normal. So that's what, mid-March, early first week of March, that kind of loosened up. And when did this virus start? Was it the end of November or end of December? Let's say the month of December.
I think it was in December sometime.
December, January, February. So 3.5 months it went through. And they feel like they're getting back on their feet.
They also say that in China, air pollution has decreased greatly due to staying home,
I saw that.
A very good side effect.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying with the whole footprint.
Yeah.
We are not traveling as much and flying less. My wife is a English as a second language teacher to Chinese students through an online program. So she gets up in the early morning and teaches kids in their evening. And this whole coronavirus has been real eye-opening. A lot of kids have not, almost all of the kids, if not all of them, have not been able to go to school. And so she could teach all day long if she wanted to. That would be all night for her. But they're just desperate to do something. They're bored out of their minds and not able to leave the house. I mean, they're truly quarantined, not an American idea. So they are, she gets kind of loose stories. Not all of them speak real good English, but yeah, it's a lot of them are scared, nervous, and worried. So.
Can I give a report on a youth exchange thing? I attended a weekend wedding between two former youth exchange students, both Rotex, obviously. So Thai Pratamwan, who some of you know, is half Thai and half Occidental. He spent some years in Thailand, some years in Matamidi in Minnesota. His mother was an exchange student to Germany. She then came back and became a Peace Corps volunteer in Thailand, where she met her husband. Let me see. They went to a party sponsored by Al Jardine. I think some of you know Al Jardine. Al Jardine oriented me to be an exchange student. That's how old Al is. Al's in his 90s. His daughter, a few years after me, was outbound to Brazil. Her host brother had a daughter who was invited to this party. They invited, the Pratamwans were also invited to the party. Ty met Rachel at the party. So Rachel, who was an outbound exchange student from Brazil to Mexico, and Ty, who was an outbound exchange student from Minnesota to Faroe Islands, but did his internship in Denmark. And she, his girlfriend, now wife, has relatives who are from Brazil but live in Montreal. But she studies here at the University of Minnesota, so she speaks Portuguese, Spanish, French, and English. Thai speaks English, Thai to some degree, Faroese to some degree, Danish to some degree, but is learning Portuguese so he can speak to his in-laws. This family will be United Nations unto themselves, and as they said time and time again at the wedding, people say that Rotary doesn't change lives. They are mistaken.
Just how they met. I mean, how they met in Minnesota is so amazing.
Oh, absolutely. And I was honored to be chauffeur once on one of the early dates because Ty didn't have a car and she didn't have a car and they wanted to go someplace, so I drove them around.
That's great.
So cool.
Well, that's a good segue, I think, into our guest speaker today, Michael Lawrenson, because he also was an exchange student, ended up, as you'll hear, moving to the U.S. for school and meeting his wife, and now lives in Denver. So what do you say we share the video and see what he has to say?
Absolutely.
And I am so happy today that we get to interview someone that I met. Geez, Michael. well, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, when Michael was an exchange student in Wayzata, Minnesota. And Wayzata is a suburb of Minneapolis, Minnesota. So today we get to speak with Michael Lawrenson. He has a big personality, if I recall. And I have just moved to Denver, and I discovered on Facebook, I don't know, like something popped up on my screen, Michael, like after I moved here, that like something, you must have posted something, and then I noticed you lived in Denver. I was like, what? You're gonna live so close to me now. So I'm very excited to have you almost as a neighbor. We have not seen one another face to face, but I'm really thrilled that you are here with us today to tell us about your experience as a Rotary Exchange student and how you ended up in the United States for college, and then really ending up in the United States living here. So I know you've prepared some slides for us to view. I don't know if you want to say a little something and then start your slideshow. That'd be great.
Sure.
Okay.
Growing up in South Africa was always, it was great. I loved it. I never really thought of traveling as much as I'd like to say I did. I just was really loving my life in South Africa. And my sister encouraged me to join a Rotary club. She'd done a little bit more research than I had on it. And she was a little older than me, and she'd wished she had done it. So she encouraged me to do it. I had a great mentor at my school. The Rotary club was at my school. I went to a few meetings, and they encouraged me to try a youth exchange program. At this time, I was not sure where I was going next after high school. I think that a lot of students get to that position where they're not sure if college is the right spot or which college to go to or what degree to choose. So I had a lot of choices to make, and I felt like this one was going to open up the most opportunity for me. So I put the 3 countries in that I wanted to go to, and USA was number 1, obviously, just because I'd loved USA since I was a kid. And my dad was always infatuated with USA, so I wanted to make sure that I didn't disappoint him and choose somewhere else, because I know that he would love me to see the United States. My mom always, her dream was always, before she passed, was to take me to Disneyland. That was always on the card. So it's just like so many things that USA had to be. So they told me I was going to Minnesota. I was super excited. I had a few American exchange students that were in my school. I told them that I was going to Minnesota, and their reaction was, ooh. And I was like, oh no, what's wrong with Minnesota? But I soon found out. I left in January 2009, and it was the hottest day in South Africa. So I had a tank top on, and then traveled to Minnesota to its coldest day of the year. So I think it was negative 20 Fahrenheit. So rude awakening, first time seeing snow, but had a great time. Was hosted by a great family. They're called the McDills. Well, Susan Carlson now, and her daughter Chloe. Chloe did an exchange while I was there. We are, I don't know how else to put it, but we are related. By all means of that word, we are related. They have been to every one of my graduations. They've come to see my apartment here in Denver. We still keep in contact. We still do weekly phone calls. They are my family. They always will be. So it's been great to kind of keep that connection with them. That was my first host family. We had other host families that I had a great time and learned a lot from, but that family specifically, I just really connected with, and they made the experience wonderful. So got to Minnesota, had a great time. I mean, I learned a lot. I was at my Rotary Club weekly. We did this weekly Rotary event, and I got to realize that there was a lot of work that needed, a lot of things that needed help in South Africa, and Rotary was very popular because of that. There's a lot of people that needed help, but I realized that even in Minnesota, there was a lot of people that needed help, and I grew a passion and realized, it was just like a contagious passion when I was with Rotary for volunteer work and helping out others. So really loved that. I had the opportunity to change Rotary clubs and go to a new Rotary club, which one Chrisanne was part of. And that opened up some more doors too. I worked with one of the members of the Rotary club, George Funk, which I still keep in contact with him. Yeah, he let me help at the Minnesota State Fair. I'd never seen a state fair before. And I got to work there and experience what that is like. I'd never seen, pigs that big. I'd never seen, just so many things. So I love that. and he let me, stay at his house, and we did a lot of work together, and he taught me a lot. So really grateful for that opportunity. Rotary, just the Rotary itself, I think everything I have in my life, right now I look back, and without Rotary, it wouldn't be possible. It opened so many doors for me. It allowed me to meet new people. It made me do a jump that I wasn't really prepared to do. It almost gave me like a kick in the butt. I think I would have loved to have traveled, but without Rotary, I wouldn't have had the resources. I wouldn't have had, the courage to just do it on my own. I think Rotary helps you kind of just give you that, we're on your side, we're experienced, we're older, we know what we're doing, we're going to look after you. And everyone has always made me feel so welcome, and that made me feel like, this is something I can achieve, this is something I can do. Because it is a daunting experience. I left my family, I left my friends, and I came to a new country. But because of the Rotary experience, it made it so much more easier. I went to a high school in Minnesota that is, in my school in South Africa, if I were to compare it, I could only pick from 12 subjects at school, and I thought that was a lot. I had to pick 7. When I got to Wayzata in Minnesota, it was a booklet of classes, and I had a lot of choices. So I picked a lot of strange classes just because I never had the chance to do that. And I learned so much. We did a class called Outdoor Education, and I learned how to shoot guns, shoot arrows, build an igloo, just to name a few, how to kayak, how to snorkel, just in a class at a school. So that was kind of my experience at school. I just couldn't believe that, there was that experience out there, things that you could learn, how to really live, or how to do, activities, but, I was so used to just doing school. So that was a great experience for me. And then while I was at school, I got to meet, a lot of new faces, and I joined a sports team, a rugby sports team, the high school sports team. Fortunately for me, I've been playing rugby for a very long time, so they allowed me to coach the team, and it gave us a big opportunity and to kind of go really far with it. We won all the way to the state championships. We won the state championship, and because of that, it opened up a door to meet another friend who got me into college in Pennsylvania. So once again, just like a culminating effect of just so many things coming together. So I wanted to say though, after exchange, or even during exchange, I spoke to a lot of people about at my school about South Africa, and they all said they want to visit, or they want to travel, and everyone is very has the idea that they want to travel, but they don't really, don't have the courage or don't have the kick in the butt to kind of get going. So I encourage them all to kind of, Rotary Exchange is one of the greatest programs out there, because you have giving another person in another country an opportunity to come experience your country as well. So I encourage as many people to, change countries. And when I went back home, the same thing happened. A lot of people were so, I don't even like to use the word jealous, but they were like just, they were inspired by some of the pictures and some of the experiences that I had. And I got a few of them into Rotary Exchange at that same program at my school. So I'm glad that helped them, give them the courage that they needed to kind of make that little jump so they can make a bigger jump. Let me write. I got some other things going on. I wrote down. Oh, one embarrassing moment that you asked. Okay. The one embarrassing moment for me, I was really hungry at one point. I didn't have just enough money on me for a sandwich, and I don't like spicy food. But I'm learning to get better, but I don't like spicy food. And I got a buffalo sandwich, but I thought it was going to be like a buffalo, like meat, like South African meat, but it was a buffalo chicken, which is very spicy. So that was like, I read the question here, said, how did you learn the language? There were definitely some language barriers that I had to get through. Especially in Minnesota, there's just some things that you have to learn, how to pronounce, or otherwise you're going to get the wrong item. So I learned the hard way that buffalo chicken is pretty spicy. So that's kind of embarrassing for me. I think that, the exchange program in the USA is very well organized, and it was very well sought after. And I think that I got to meet a lot of exchange students from other countries as well. I think that was a huge, big benefit for me. A lot of them I'm still in contact with. And now that I've had this travel bug, I've been bitten by it. I travel a lot ever since Rotary Exchange with my wife as well. We travel all around the world, and a lot of times we meet up with exchange students that I have met in Minnesota. And I think that's a great experience, just be able to meet other people in other parts of the world, and then they host you as they can host you in their country, and they love that experience. And I've encouraged them obviously to travel to my country and do the same. So I think that was a huge thing for me, was to kind of meet people from different cultures. Even though I only traveled to one other country, I got to experience a lot of time with a lot of other students from other countries, and got that huge experience of, understanding other cultures, even though if it's a minimum amount. It was something I'd never experienced, and I couldn't describe it before. Now I can only describe it after. Yeah.
I think it's wonderful that you stayed in touch with the other students that were in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And you don't know John, but he was also an outbound. John, I think you went in the 80s.
83, 84, yeah, to Mexico.
Wow.
Mexico.
And then my kids both went out as well to France and to Italy. And I think, what year did you go? 10, 11, Michael?
9 and 10.
9 and 10, yeah. Andy won 11, 12, and then Amy won 14, 15. So a little bit behind you, but yep.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. My wife is currently pregnant now, and we've already decided that it's a guarantee. There was no better experience, no better just door opener than traveling the world.
Well, Michael, there's a Rotary exchange program here in Denver. So when your little baby is 15 or 16, we'll get him or her in the class.
Perfect.
Yeah. So, okay, so you went to college in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
And it was it rugby? I mean, was it rugby at school? I can't remember. Was rugby part of that, or am I dreaming?
No, so that's a good point. The person that I played with in Minnesota, I actually ended up playing for the Minnesota rugby team, and the coach there, when I traveled to Pittsburgh playing with that team, he said that, would you like to stay in the United States? My first, I was definitely staying. I told myself I'm staying. So the first thing I did, I tried to join the Marines. So I went to San Diego, and I tried to sign up to join the Marines. That was what everyone else was doing in my school, all the people that I liked. And I thought, oh, that's something that I always wanted to be part of the military. I think my father and my brother was, so I didn't even tell them, I just went. And they denied my application, obviously. I didn't have, I had a Rotary exchange visa, which I did.
It wasn't enough.
Which is very fair, but I learned a lot. But when I got back, I was talking to him and I said, yeah, I've tried the Marines. And he said, well, he knows a few colleges that give scholarships. So he gave me a list of about 100, and they were all rugby related. So I contacted 80 of them, including, I'm trying to think of the name. I think it was Stanford, which I didn't know what that was at the time, but it's an Ivy League school. So
it's a big deal.
Right. So the coach laughed when I called him. And he's like, you need to get into the school first before you can call me. And I was like, oh, I didn't. And I was like, who is this guy? And I told my host mom, I said, yeah, I just called this guy from Stanford. She's like, oh, Stanford? And that one. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know. But yeah, I ended up choosing a college that was in Pennsylvania that gave an academic scholarship, actually. It wasn't a rugby scholarship, but had a very, very prestigious rugby team. So I got an academic scholarship and just, made everything work. I made it work. And we took the rugby team very far, in that college. We got all the way onto TV. And because of that, it opened up some doors for some international teams that saw me play in Pennsylvania, and they encouraged me to go play in New Zealand with them. So I left the United States after college for about a year and went and played in New Zealand professionally. And then I unfortunately had a stroke while I was playing. I know, crazy.
Wow.
So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, kind of a crazy turn of events, but everything happens for a reason. I always believe in that. And because of that.
How old were you? You were like 23, 24.
Right. So yeah, I didn't believe that that's what was happening. And they they were just as surprised as I was. It seemed But New Zealand looks after all their players. Rugby is a huge event, a huge sport in their country. So they looked after me, flew my current wife, she was my girlfriend at the time, flew her to see me right away, and we flew back together. And I started school at chiropractic college. So the coach at my undergraduate in Pennsylvania was a chiropractor, and I was always planning to be a medical doctor and a surgeon. And we just talked a lot about the human body and chiropractic. I'd never even heard of chiropractic before. And he also said that they would, at his college in Iowa, they would, if I was to coach the rugby team there at the chiropractic college, that they would give me a full tuition scholarship. So at that point, I was like, "Yep, I'll definitely do that." So I was coaching for the past 3 years, 3.5 years in Iowa. And my wife, or my current girlfriend at the time from Pennsylvania, she came with me. She also studied chiropractic, and she also joined rugby, so she got a big scholarship as well. So it worked out great for us. And then we kind of did and when I was on the Rotary Exchange in 2009 in Minnesota, we did this thing called an East Coast trip. And what we did is we traveled all the way along the East Coast. All our students, we got to learn a lot about, that's where I really learned a lot about each other's culture. We got to learn a lot about America's culture and got to see some of these big monuments. We were in 4th of July, we were in Washington, D.C., and we learned a lot about America. And I learned a lot about the states that I liked, and that's kind of encouraged me to go to the East Coast, was that East Coast trip. So once we had some time in a chiropractic school, my wife and I just traveled around the states doing the same thing, just in the car. And we traveled all around the states to almost 30 states, and Denver was definitely number one. So great Denver, and we thought, the world was our oyster at that point, so we didn't really know what to do, but all roads kind of led to Denver. So, and then that's where we are. So we kind of moved here. We just trying to sink or swim.
Michael, when did you move here?
It's just about a year ago.
No way. Okay. Well, this is my luck. I love that you're here.
Right. And we're learning the area. We just got a house finally because the rent was kind of as much as a mortgage. So,
yeah. I'm learning that too.
Right. But we're having a great time. We're figuring it out. And there's so much to do here, so much to experience. It's just crazy. So,
definitely. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
You know what I love is that you have a natural courage to walk through the doors that are open to you. You don't seem to have a fear, right? You seem risk averse. I mean, you're comfortable. You're comfortable with taking a chance. I think that is wonderful. Wonderful. And look at all the good things that have happened because of that.
And that's why, that's what I was saying earlier, how I encourage, other students to do it, or other people that are kind of confused of what to do. It's just that traveling is always the right choice.
Oh my God. So
the world is a great choice.
Oh, it's wonderful. So I know you got some photos for us. Do you want to go through them?
Sure. So let me just click my screen. Yeah. So this is back home in South Africa. This is actually, if you can see on the right here, is it's my wife walking up the stairs. Took her back home. So lots of wildlife in South Africa. And then this is my niece. She lives in Kentucky now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hang on, what was that on the right? That was a little...
This is a little lion. Yes.
And that's in Kentucky too, with your niece, or was it back in South Africa?
This is back in South Africa. Yeah, this is my home city here, and my niece was in town for this.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, giraffes. There's a lot of wildlife that you get to experience. So, and then this is me coming to Minnesota for the first time.
Yeah.
This is my host mom. My sister got married. My host sister got married. Sorry, see, I don't even call her host anymore.
That's great.
Married. This is my mom right here.
Oh, it's so wonderful.
And then Mr. Mount Rushmore, which I think was one of the greatest trips I've ever taken. I've been back twice since, and I don't know. I just didn't expect it to be that big and that.
It is.
I had to get all my shots retaken. That was a rough day. Apparently, I didn't have enough good paperwork, so but it was all covered, which was great. We got to win state champs with our high school team. Got to experience a little bit of America.
It is awesome.
And then yes, with that class that I was talking about, that outdoor education class, we did ice climbing, we did snowmobiling. It really was, every day was something new that I never got to experience, all because of the class, which is great. And these are some exchange students as well, experiencing snow. And then got to go to prom, which I thought was only in the movies. That was fun. Got to shoot my first real gun. You can see this is when I got back. This is the guy, his name is AJ Human, and he was my mentor. He was so excited to have me back. And this is my friend Julian, who went to Brazil, so we kept in contact throughout our trip as well. First time seeing a short bus, I also thought it was just in the movies, so that was very strange. And then, after exchange, I went to graduate college and had a great time, learned so much, played a lot of rugby. So I thought this picture was pretty fun. And then, I got to play for USA, which was my dream. My dream was to play for the USA team. I played in New Zealand against New Zealand. And then, got to meet my wife in undergraduate. And we both graduated together with a pre-med degree, and then both went on to college and graduated as chiropractors together. And we moved to Denver, and we're having a baby. So,
when's the baby coming?
The baby is due June 14th.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. My wife's birthday is June 10th. Her sister is June 11th. My sister from Minnesota is June 12th. So it's just crazy time.
Fun.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we're having a great time, but do you have anything that you're involved with currently? And just getting new, I'm kind of experiencing, trying to experience Denver as much as I can. But what I have joined, and not really expecting help, just kind of getting started, but youth rugby in Denver is very popular, more popular than any other state I've been to. So what they really need is just some help, getting started, getting organized. So working really on that. Rugby is always my passion, even though I'm not allowed to play anymore. It opened up so many doors for me, just like Rotary. So I always will give back.
Mm-hmm. You were reffing yesterday. That was a rugby match, or what were you reffing?
Yes, it was. It's actually Major League. So like Major League Soccer has come around. They play all the states. It's now a Major League Rugby, which is very, very crazy because, yesterday I was refereeing a guy that I idolized as a kid. So just staring at, I caught myself staring at him a few times, which is great because America's got a lot of funding into this program that they're pulling players from around the world to come play. So,
wow.
Yeah, it was great. So, Denver is a big hub for rugby. So,
you're in the right spot.
Right.
You are really in the right spot. John, do you have a question for Michael before we wrap up?
Yeah, no, great interview. Really enjoyed hearing about the exchange and how Rotary has really impacted your life. I love that you ended up back here at college and in grad school and chiropractic college over at Palmer. And that's exceptional. And I love your tie into rugby. I mean, not just, I think oftentimes we think, we're done with the fun once we get into college or graduate, and you found a way of bringing that passion really into your life. So that's great. And I love that you're giving back.
I love the way you put that. Yeah.
And by the way, I just became a permanent resident 4 days ago. So.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, I got a big American flag outside my front door.
Wow.
So official. You're going to vote, right?
1 more year, then I'm a citizen, then I can vote. But I'm encouraging my wife to vote. So.
Sure. Congrats.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, Michael, thank you so much for spending time with us today. It
really appreciate it.
Yeah. And it was just my personal treat to see you again and to know that you're nearby. And I know shortly we will see one another in person.
Right, definitely. Well, I just want to say, if the interview's over here, you know, Chrisanne, you really helped me a lot. So
Oh,
thank you very much.
you are so very welcome.
Thanks for saying that.
Always,
That's sweet of
you
you.
were wonderful. Yeah, that was wonderful. Thank you.
Well, very good. Thanks so much.
Have a wonderful day, guys.
All right.
Bye.
John, you're on mute.
I am. There we go. Thank you. If everyone can take themselves off of mute. Hello, Cheryl. Thanks for joining. That was a fun interview, you guys. It was really great.
He's such a good guy.
He was a year before I came back into Rotary.
Mm. He was very
Same with
popular.
me. I think I came back the year you did, Greg, in 2010.
I came back at rebound orientation. I met your son for the first time.
Okay. All right. Well, fun interview. How was your, just technically, the experience? He was, I thought when we recorded him, a little hard to hear, even when we recorded him. So I was finding he could have been a little louder, you know, in the interview today, but that was how it got recorded. So something
His
to be aware
were
of.
not in sync with his sound.
It was not in sync.
Oh, no, just a little bit off. Also,
Little
my
off.
voice was so loud. I don't know how to adjust
Yeah,
that.
see, yours was loud and his was not. I'm sure that's just how close to the microphone maybe you were or something, but yeah, good interview.
Very much.
And for next week, Greg has tentatively set up an interview with Adam Henning, who is an outbound to, help me.
He was an outbound to
Germany, Austria,
either Austria, Germany, or Switzerland. What, a German-speaking country, but which one? I think Austria.
German-speaking country, and he now lives in Mongolia. And through what capacity, I forget.
He is a member of the U.S. State Department, and he is they had good divisions. He's in the cultural division, not the political division.
Okay.
So he has been in. This is considered a hardship. Mongolia is difficult. Prior to that, he was in Buenos Aires for 2 years. He's 1 year in Ulaanbaatar, I think 1 year in Ulaanbaatar. And his husband is a graphic designer for an international World Health, I think, organization. And they don't care where he works from or when he works, just when he gets the job done. So his husband works all over the world.
Well, we'll look forward. I'll have to. Greg just got me that information today, so I'll reach out and see if if this time happens to work with the time difference. I'm assuming not, but you never know. And if not, we can do a recorded interview again. If this worked relatively well. So.
And he's very excited to do an interview. So he's a wonderful, wonderful person. I know Chris Ann knows him. I don't know if you know him, John. But he's just
yeah.
He's really just positive,
awesome.
positive person.
Yes. Yeah. Sounds good.
Don't ask him about house politics. He has no thoughts.
Very good. Cheryl, how is life? What's new? Can't hear you. I'm not sure if. Looks like you're not muted. Well, anyway, we can see your face. We can't hear you. Thanks for joining. Anything else, you guys, for this week?
No, it was just nice to see everyone.
As is customary, I will. I'll get our four-way test up, and we can read through this together if we'd like. The four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thanks, everybody. Great Rotary eClub meeting. We will talk to everyone next week.
Okay. See you next week.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.